Hi guys, this is the video for history for Wednesday, March 25th. I'm gonna go over the study guide questions from yesterday, and I'm gonna go over what you were supposed to do for today. So if you're not done with it yet, if you're not sure if you got it right, you can go ahead and do it with me right now. So I'm on page 185. Anytime you need to, pause the video so that you can get where you need to be to get the right answers in, okay? Number one, the Roaring '20s was a time of prosperity and fun in America. Number two, many Americans were concerned about entertainment's effect on people's morality. The indifferentists believed that the fundamental truth of the Bible, but thought that fundamentalists and the modernists should work harder at getting along. Number four, during the 1920s, many Americans rejected God and the Bible, but the fundamentalists were hopeful that God would send another revival. Number five, J. Gresham Machen was an important fundamentalist who wrote books that liberals had a hard time answering. Number six, Calvin Coolidge became the new president after Warren G. Harding died. Number seven, to produce more of a product than we actually need is called overproduction. It's probably what's going to happen with toilet paper really soon. Number eight, the correct word here is consumer, not farming. Number nine, business and advertising became significant in the consumer culture of 1920s. Number 10 is true. Number 11, Clarence Darrow was a well-known agnostic who represented the defense in the Scopes monkey trial. Number 12, William Jennings Bryan was a three-time presidential candidate who argued for the prosecution in the Scopes trial. This one is true. Number 13, Coolidge thought that the government should spend more money. That is not true. He wanted them to spend less money. And Calvin Coolidge chose to serve for only 2 terms. Okay, back of this page. What difficult tasks did Christians face during the 1920s? Christians had to figure out what parts of the modern world were helpful and what parts were harmful. So what things about the world changing and becoming more modern, what of those were good and what of those were bad? What was the purpose of the Scopes trial? It was to test Tennessee's law that did not allow teachers to teach evolution and to determine if Scopes had broken the law. Why did Harding win the presidential election of 1920? Because the progressives could not unite around a candidate. Harding was a Republican. Americans were ready for more normal life and were sick of the progressive reforms. What was Mellon's tax plan? Mellon believed that if the government taxed a lower percentage of people's money, the people would have more money. Why did American farmers find life difficult in the 1920s? They couldn't pay back their loans because they had overproduced or grown too many crops. And then because there was a whole bunch of crops, they didn't sell for very much, okay? It's kind of like what's happening with gas prices right now. There's a bunch of fighting between Russia and I think Saudi Arabia, and they're both trying to make it so they're producing more oil. And what's happening is there's so much oil being produced right now that the gas prices have gone way down, like way down. I had Kroger points or cash back or something, but I paid $1.29 the other day. Super cheap. Okay, complete the chart, use the glossary as needed. The modernist or liberal, here's what I want you to write, believes the teaching of Christianity must be made modern for the present age. They support liberal worldviews and they want to update Christianity to the modern world. So Christianity is old-fashioned. They want to make it more updated. The fundamentalists stand for the basic teachings of the Bible. The agnostic, he doubts that God even exists. And the conservative has biblical or traditional views and values. And that is probably where most of your parents stand. Okay, so page 187 we skipped. Page 188 we are skipping. But 189, let me just look at this. Okay. We're gonna do 189 and 190 today. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you to skip 191 and 92. Okay, so if you don't watch this video, you're gonna do a whole bunch of extra history you don't need to do. So watch your videos. Sometimes I change my mind. Just like when we were in school, I would sometimes say, we're not gonna do all that today. I'm gonna do that from home too. So our distance learning isn't totally different from regular school. So page 189, during his campaign, Roosevelt promised Americans, what did he promise them? A New Deal. Roosevelt's first action to help Americans through the crisis was to, something we haven't done during all the stuff that's been going on right now, is close the banks for 3 days. We are keeping all of our banks open. The 3-day bank holiday resulted in, here's what happened. People's panic calmed down and people stopped withdrawing all of their money from the banks. Okay. A law that places rules on businesses in the stock market. For this one, it's all three. So it requires businesses to tell the public about how well their business is doing, required businesses to hire auditors to make sure the businesses were being truthful, and made trading on the stock market more just or more fair. Roosevelt did not agree with many congressmen who believed the Depression was a temporary crisis. A law designed to prevent overproduction by farmers paid farmers to plant fewer crops, which doesn't that sound crazy? You got paid money to do less, but it kept the prices from the market being filled with stuff and then it's not worth anything. And it raised food prices. When people are unemployed, they want and need jobs, but they cannot find work. Explain the term legislation. Use the glossary as needed. I'm just going to read this, but you can look this up in the glossary. Legislation is one or more laws created by a government. It is also the act of creating or proposing jobs. Okay, then you have this web diagram. Complete the web. Okay, so the New Deal. What do we know about the New Deal? It promised a person up to $2,500 of his money if the bank failed, so $2,500. I think that number is 10,000 now. I'm not sure, but I think that's right. The FDIC is the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. It intended to stop, what did it intend to stop? Runs on banks. If you went to our church play this last year at Christmas time, that's what happened in our church play. There was a run on the bank. Everybody wanted their money out. It forbade businesses from competing with each other. There was the National Recovery Administration, and it required businesses to pay workers a minimum wage. And then the CCC was the Civilian Conservation Corps. I just recently watched a Waltons, and there was a guy from the CCC. It trained young men for military service. It put military bases when built military bases when World War II started. It planted trees. It built roads, bridges, and buildings for state and national parks. And it provided work for the young men to do. So those were his programs. The FDIC, which was with the banks, the National Recovery Administration, to get workers paid a minimum wage, and then the CCC, which gave young guys something to do, trained them, and got them doing something worthwhile instead of, not worthwhile things that they could have been doing. All right. Again, you do not have to do 191 and 192. There is a study guide, 193 and 194, that you're going to do on Thursday. I want you to do that on Thursday before you watch Thursday's video, and then I'm going to go over that, and then you're going to be all set to take the test on Friday. Okay? All right, I miss you guys. I'll see you soon, I hope.